what's your purpose of bringing somebody down based on their gender? And I heard some very degrading comments that reporters would make about women athletes. And it just kind of makes me pause every single time. It's like, why? When did this become okay?
Hi everyone, welcome to Benched episode 2. Today I have my friend Madeline Coleman, who's a former sports journalist for the Daily Tar Heel. Madeline and I are going to be discussing the over-sexualization and harassment of female athletes and females in the sports world.
Hi y'all, so my name's Madeline. I'm a senior. Unfortunately, this is not how I expected my last semester to go, but I am double majoring in business journalism and public policy. I worked for the DTH sports desk for about 3.75 years. That 0.25 is because that I left the sports desk at the beginning of March. It's when my last article ran. So I joined fall 2016. I spent 2 years as a sports reporter, and then the last 1.75/2 years, if you want to sit there and round up, I was the only female senior sports reporter. And then I interned for the Charlotte Observer this past summer, and that internship radically changed how I view the sports world as a reporter. I cannot say enough great things about the sports desk at the Charlotte Observer. As you can tell by the look on my face, I absolutely adore them. It was very much a night and day difference. All of them not only supported me as a journalist, but as a person. And I think those two aspects is how we kind of change today's society, but also create a more welcoming environment in sports. We're all more than our occupation or activity. There's still a human behind every computer screen, every story and publication, every jersey, every sport. And I think that's something that we all lose sight of. And I can only really speak to the reporter's aspect, that sometimes it's easy just to focus on the game and focus on the stats, and we need to remember that there's still emotions involved, and there needs to be a bottom line of respect. The DTH came across to me, it was and is a boys club, but at the Observer, I think there were like a combination of things that helped me thrive there. It was a small desk, so they needed the help, and I was eager to cover anything and everything, which they appreciated, and they kept telling me how much they appreciated it. As far as the DTH goes, I was really lucky that I covered the same 3 sports all 4 years. I did men's soccer throughout the fall, gymnastics throughout the winter, and then men's tennis in the spring. I think once I got to more of like the bigger name sports, that I would start to get kind of, I guess for lack of better terms, lost in the crowd. That there was like probably unintentional sexism that happened. I think that's a big thing in sports, but then also in journalism right now. It's not as much like intentional bias from what I've seen at least, but more of like underlying unintentional sexist behavior that kind of just like runs through the industry, that is going to take probably a while for it to be completely flushed out.
This isn't okay, whether it's intentional or unintentional. Like, it's still not okay. And like, everything needs to be welcoming to everyone. And I think that's why, like, having these conversations, bringing these things to light will help shed light on like even things that aren't intentional but are still happening, and therefore still have a negative effect, especially on young women like you and I, who are trying our best to stay in the sports world when it might not be that easy based on all the things that are happening.
So I think there's still like this massive stigma within society that women don't know a lot about sports or know anything, period. Guys I'm either like talking to or that I'm dating, that for some reason they sit there and say, you knowing sports makes you hot or even hotter. And it's like, when did having that kind of knowledge or loving something become such a rarity? I know so many women that love sports, and it's like, why does that directly tie into my appearance?
Yeah.
And why is that a thing?
But I think that also perpetuates the like cycle that women aren't welcome in sports. So that like that idea of like, oh, women, like, they don't know sports. Oh, women, they don't understand sports. Like, when you're a young girl and you're like wanting to play sports and you're interested, like you're kind of pushed away. And also like I remember I love sports, like played sports my whole life. Like I was a tomboy because I played sports.
Why is there like a quiz that women have to answer to be like verified, for lack of better terms, that they know sports and that they love sports? Like, why can't it just be accepted, just like how you would accept your male friends about their love for sports and assume that they have like this certain amount of knowledge to be able to still love it? Or if they don't know anything, they just love the game, then that's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
And a woman can love the game and know nothing about the history of the franchise. And it's just like, it was very frustrating to watch it happen, and kind of comical at the same time, watching these women kind of own the guys that were speaking down to them.
Title IX proves that women are interested in sports, and it's just there was a lack of opportunity, and it still happens today. Like when the opportunity is there, women are involved, they participate, they're like pushing for more. But like if no opportunity exists, like obviously it looks like women aren't interested because there's no opportunity.
I think I stayed because that I wanted to make sure that these women knew that they had a mentor and someone who was going to be in their corner, and that even when times get tough, that I would immediately go to bat for them. That was something that I really stressed that when I left, because I had a few reporters that told me, it's like, I joined because I saw that you were there and that they had met me like a few weeks before I was about to leave. And so that was definitely hard to hear, that they were kind of worried about not having that female representation. Like I remember there was like a photographer that multiple times when he would come with me, that he would make a comment about what I'm wearing, or say like, why are you wearing that? Why aren't you wearing something different? It's like, what's wrong with, one, what I'm wearing does not affect you, does not affect your job. And two, just why are you asking me this? And like, there was like a former coworker, I think this was like maybe 2 years ago, that while I was walking to the office, he slowed his car down and started shouting catcalls to me and following me as I was walking to the office. And it's just like going back to my point from earlier, it's like, when did people think that this was okay? Carolina kind of prides themselves on being inclusive and diverse, that this would not be happening within our group of peers. And you would think with how the athletic department talks about like one for all, that this would not be happening within teams. This would not be happening within the reporters and everything. And it's just like really disheartening and frustrating, especially when you watch, even on the national scale, there's still sexism happening, like with the U.S. women's national team. And I think them turning their jerseys inside out in response to how U.S. soccer was reacting to the lawsuit is iconic. And I think like those are great role models for women that want to get in sports.
I've always thought that sports is an avenue for changing culture, and I think that if sports can make that change, then our actual society can as well. And I think sports needs to make a drastic change because there's a lot going on that is not acceptable. It happens in front of us, it happens like next to us, around us, and it's just like such a toxic culture that is continually perpetuated because nobody really can say anything, because there's so few women in sports, and there's like you're scared to say something because you're surrounded by all these men. It's a boys club, like, but it's just, it happens in regular society, but in sports it's just like, I feel like so concentrated because it is a boys club. But like, it absolutely needs to stop. It's disgusting, and it's just, it creates such a toxic environment, and it's so hard for women to continue to be a part of sports and like be involved in and deal with this constantly. Like this stuff happens all of the time. Like this last incident happened less than a month ago. Like it is just unacceptable.
The only way we're going to change it is calling attention to it, but then also supporting each other through it, that eventually that loving one another and caring for one another and encouraging one another, that eventually this will change. To anyone who is listening, I just want to remind you that you are loved, you are powerful and strong and courageous in your own way, and your story is important to tell,